Anyway, in the last week, I spoke about the closing closing slides of introductory chapters. I spoke about the background, civilization background of environmental thinking, the early antecedents of environmental sciences, environmental disciplines, and we arrived to the case studies. Because the history is basically making and analyzing stories from the past. Closer or farther past about the past. Very important to define, in the case of case study, the time scale. Why? Because very different a historical event if unfold short term, middle term, or long term. It's introduced by a French historian, Fernand Braudel. Short term, for example, less than 1 year. For example, perform this course is happened in the short term because we started in September and we expire and we close until the end of January or the beginning of February. This is a half year from the beginning to the closing date. This is the short term. A lot of events on our life unfold in short term. And so the second one, a middle term, the French original terminology is the temps de conjoncture. It means longer than 1 year, but less than 10 years. It's a more years long period. For example, a graduation, for example, in the case of university, is unfold in the middle term. And finally, a long term is not new, but quite a new innovation of history appear in the middle of 20th century, first time. And why? Because some event of the history unfold a lot of centuries. For example, history of global economy unfold a lot of centuries. For example, trajectory of Roman Catholic Church, of Hinduism, or for example, religious network unfold more 100 or more 1,000 years. And there are a rhythm of recovery and decline, recovery, decline. Therefore, very important to see the history, the scale, more 100 or more 1,000 years long. And judging, for example, some conditions in different on the short, middle, and the long term. It's true in the case of environmental history. Why? Because interaction unfolds short term, some weeks, some months. It's basically different that unfold a long term. I show for you some example. Look at the short term, less than 1 year. The best example for that are battles, a military campaign. Unfold quite short term. In the modern time it's different, but in the historical time, majority of military campaign unfolded for some month or 1 or 2 years long period. No more. Because, for example, organizing a military campaign and feeding the armies is not so easy to solve. Therefore, the military campaign unfold quite short term. Look at, for example, a Mongolian invasion. Mongolian invasion is very important in the global history because the largest empire, whole of the human history, was the Mongolian Empire. Larger compared with the British Empire. This is the largest one. And the history, this military invasion of Mongolian army, it's quite tragical in the Hungarian history. It's quite far from Mongolia, but in the middle of 13th century, one army arrived to Hungary, to the medieval Hungarian kingdom. On that time, Béla IV was the king of Hungary, and the leader of Mongolian army named Batuka. He was the founder of one great province of Mongolian army. It's named Golden Horde. It's located recent Russia and Ukraine region, of course in the Middle Ages. And a Hungarian king received information about the plan of Mongolian invasion. Very interesting that Hungarians, probably you know, not probably, it's possible you know the history and the wandering of Hungarian tribes to Hungary, to recent Hungary. It started from Ural Mountain. Ural Mountain. This was the Magna Hungaria, the old Hungary, Ural Mountain. And on the time of wandering, on the time of migration, when arrived finally to Carpathian Basin, some part of Hungarian tribes, it's moved other direction. Therefore, two Hungarian population lived on the side of Volga River and on the area of Caucasus in the boundary between Asia and Europe. Two large Hungarian communities left in East. Therefore, the contemporary Hungarian knew that Hungarian living in Eastward. Therefore, a Friar Julian, a Friar Dominican friar, with his colleagues, other Dominican monk, traveled to finding the Hungarians like missionaries, convert to Christian. This was the ambition. And Friar Julian in 1235 traveled via Black Sea to Hungarians lived on the side of Volga River, and was able to communicate with the Hungarian left or east because the language not so far. It's happened 3 centuries from the migration. And basically the dialect a little bit different, but the basic meaning was able to communicate with each other. And the Hungarian lived on the side of Volga River, told to Friar Julian the plan of Mongolian invasion. Because the ambition of the Mongolians was conquering whole of the world. Conquering whole of the world. And turned back to Hungary and told to Hungarian king the plan of invasion. And Hungarian king gathered the army of Hungary and moved eastward. And approximately here, northeast Hungary met with Mongolian army. It was a very, very hard battle, and the Hungarian army lost the battle. And majority of army died on the battlefields. This was a crucial point of Hungarian history, and one happy element was on the battle, the king survived. Because the bodyguards of king changed the armors. Therefore, it's made, how the name is, the Mongolian wasn't able to identify who is the king. Because the armor weared by the bodyguards and killed a lot of bodyguards on the way of escape, but finally the king survived. It was a crucial because the monarchy function focused on the king, and no king start a feudal anarchy. It's a typical situation in the feudalism. A lot of candidates appear that I would like to be a king because large circle of relatives in the priests and counts and other king would like to be the ruler of Hungary. But the king survived. This was the best information, but whole of the country destroyed Mongolian troops, destroyed the northern part of Hungary, the Great Hungarian Plain, Transylvania, except Transdanubian area, behind the Danube River. You traveled in Hungary yet? Traveled in some part of Hungary? There are two basic rivers. The whole of the Carpathian Basin is a part of Danube River. This is the Danube River, second largest river of Europe after the Volga. Volga is the first one, and the Danube is the second one. And the whole of the Carpathian Basin is a part of tributary tributary, it's a water network of Danube. And the second largest river is a Tisa river, you can see beside the Szeged. This is the second one. But Tisa river flow into the Danube similarly. And the Danube quite a large river, and the invasion stopped. Not for the size of the river, because the Volga river crossed very quickly by Mongolian army, but on the time of military campaign approached a winter time. And quite close appeared the winter-like weather. Therefore, not frozen over, but started the freezing of water on the river. Therefore, had to wait a Mongolian army. And winter was very cold, therefore river frozen over. But it's a very special situation. Why? Because, for example, on the recently the Buda and Pest area, recent capital of Hungary, there is a geological rupture. Therefore, warm water flowing continuously into the river. Therefore, some part never frozen over in consequence of how the name is, which activity? It's post-volcanic activity. Post-volcanic activity. Therefore, very important to know the nature of river, which is the safe way crossing through the river. And the Mongolians, no local experiences, didn't know which is the reliable path through the river. But he used a stratagem. You know which is the stratagem? It's a tramp. It's a tramp. Left sentinels in the left side of the river, and large herd of cattle left on the side of river. Without shepherds. Why? Because this is the logistical system of nomadic army that guarded huge cattle herds or sheep flocks, and day by day killed some animals, but wandering and moved animals with the army, and time by time lost some 100 animals. This was a normal circumstances of military operation, and left a lot of cow, lot of cattle on the side of river. And the Hungarian soldier, look at, it's no shepherd, no control. It's an easy occasion for gathering animals. This was some kind of fortune. And for the safe place, safe path on the river. And the Mongolian sentinels, of course, realized which is the reliable path. And a Hungarian soldier drove through the river the animals, and 1 hour later, whole of the Mongolian army used the same path. Why interesting for us? Because the following spring and following part of the winter destroyed the Trans-Danubian area. It may happen. It's happened everywhere where appeared the Mongolian army. Why interesting for us, for environmental history aspect, point of view? Because it was a great disaster for Trans-Danubian population for 2 reasons. One reason, a Mongolian invasion. Other reason, a cold winter when frozen over the river. If happened only one, for example, Mongolian invasion without safe frozen over the river, Mongolians not able to pass on the river. And the following winter time, springtime, whole of the Mongolian army with Balkanic Peninsula threw back to Mongolia. Therefore, if didn't freeze over, no any disaster in Trans-Danubian area. If no Mongolian invasion, only cold water, cold weather, somebody freezing on the highway. No more disaster, no more accident, no more injured person, but two even environmental anomaly and weather anomaly and the military invasion happened on the same time and interfere each other. It's a good example. It became the loss of Battle Muhi and the invasion of Mongolians became accidental for Trans-Danubian area for interference of two even cold winter and the Mongolian invasion. Without cold winter or without Mongolian invasion, no accident, no disaster for the Trans-Danubian area. Look at the second one. The second one about the history of France. Probably you know the story of French Revolution. A French Revolution is a turning point whole of the European and in longer term in the global history. Before French Revolution, we can describe a French society, a traditional society. A traditional society means majority of population had a peasant, and only 1% nobility, approximately 5, 6, 7 is a bourgeoisie, and any other peasant. Therefore, a traditional society, the hardest strike is a bad weather, because very fragile, very sensible for environmental and climatic anomalies. Look at the story. The series of bad weather started in 1783. Very hot summer with drought, extremely cold winter, fodder failure during the springtime, droughty summer, very cold winter. It's reckoned. How many years was a tragical? Before the French Revolution. It started with 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89. 7 years. You know the biblical story? It's a Moses. 7 thin and 7 fat cattle. The dream of Pharaoh. You know the story? No. Okay, I suggest to you. It's a biblical story. Moses is a Jewish young prince connected to the court of the Pharaoh in Egypt. And he raised in very high position because saw the dream of Pharaoh. One night the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, the old Egypt, the antiquity Egypt, dreamed that walking from the Nile River, 7 fat and 7 thick cattle. Thin, sorry. And which is the, household will follow 7 good years, and after that 7 bad years. And Moses saw this dream, and during the 7 fat, 7 good years, it's collected so high quantity of stocks, reserve, that able to survive the 7 thin years. Why so important? Because 7 years are the higher boundary of survival. If following 7 years each other expire, burn the reserves. Why? Because how able to make a conserve in the traditional society? For example, taking a granary, for example, harvest. But after 2-3 years, the nutrition content decrease. Who other one? Other one, for example, making hard cheese. For example, in Netherlands, it's possible you saw, the normal size of traditional hard cheese, 1.5 meter. Why? Because this is a tin. It's a traditional tin. And the outskirt of the cheese is drying. And if make a large cheese, more than 1 meter, the proportion of lost part, the dry part, is minimized. Therefore, and the last solution is feeding for animals. Animals like a thing in the traditional time. But you can see that animals not apply 100% the fodders, but sheep and any other, losing proportion. Therefore, the conversion of cereals to meat, it's not so high. It's a 30 proportion only. And if the animal didn't receive enough fodder, decrease the size, became a thin, step by step. Therefore, the upper limit of survival is 7 years. It's historical and traditional experiences. And before the French Revolution happened 7 very, very bad years. And if you, for example, read and recently made a lot of movie about the history of French Revolution, it was a very cruel. It's a very cruel. For example, applied a technical innovation of guillotine, you know. It's very efficient, very efficient. It's a mechanized, how the name is application of sorry, I don't remember the exact terminology of execution. Sorry. It's a mechanized execution. It's a little bit late and therefore the words don't come easy. It's mechanized execution and became very, very, very efficient. And this is the argument why was a French Revolution so cruel. Because the people, it's a faith that hopeless people perform. After 7 years humanitarian disaster. And for example, the people who killed majority of French nobility survived, for example, losing majority of his and her families. And if somebody stepped closer and closer to the death, the humanitarian ambition decreased very efficiently. Okay, it's a middle-term crisis 17 years before French Revolution. And you know the story of Irish potato famines? Irish potato famine, one of the deepest disaster, not deepest disaster of Irish history. In Ireland, on the 19th century, was a colony of England. A colony of England. It's made by English people, English establishment, made a truncated society. You know which is the truncated society? A truncated society means a normal society for a triangle. So here there is a chart, a little bit larger. Form a triangle. On the peak of the triangle there is a king, and nobility, bourgeoisie, and the largest one, a peasantry. After the conquering of Ireland, conqueror, not British, English elite truncated the society, and they made a conqueror, it's a king or queen, and nobility, and the bourgeoisie, English or Scottish. But not only English and Scottish, but Protestant, and spoke English language. On that time, majority of society, peasant, Catholic, and spoke a Gaelic language, a Celtic version, Celtic language. Therefore, between the boundary of upper and lower part of society, unpassable was. On that time, a majority of estates had on the hand of nobility, English, Scottish nobility and bourgeoisie. And for local Irish people had a very, very small size of estate. Therefore, Irish people applied potato. Why? Potato imported from Americas. And potato carrying capacity, you know which is the carrying, how many people are able to feed by potato? Carrying capacity sixfold higher compared to cereals. Therefore, whole of the Irish people converted the estate to potato. But in the consequence of modern geographical discoveries, appeared and moved not only the plants and animals and the humans, but the bacteria and virus and fungi, similarly. And to Ireland and to Europe appeared Phytophthora infestans. This is a fungi infection. And almost whole of the potato harvest, it's a rotten. And arrived a fungi infection 1845, but the triggering for fungi infection are hot and wet weather. Each kind of the fungi. And the triggering effect, you know which is the triggering. Triggering effect, this is the using a shotgun. A triggering effect shotgun, you know. It's push the trigger and launch the bullet. And the triggering effect means something small operation happen, but the chain of consequences unstoppable. And this happened on the case of Irish potato famine. 46, it's a very wet and very hot summer, and launch the triggering effect and rotten whole of the potato harvest. And population of Ireland, it's broken down. And 2 million people disappear from Ireland, half emigrated and half died for typhus. And the population of Ireland before the potato famine reached 8.4 million. Recently, Irish population less in Ireland, never reached the same level. And very interesting, the migration. Nobody moved to England because hate each other. The relation between Irish people and English people, it's a force. And moved to United States, Brooklyn and the East Coast, and very interesting, moved to Scotland and founded a very famous football club. It's possible you're not interested so much in the football, but very interesting. Why? Because football and generally the sport, this is the good place for representation. A minority show themselves for the majority and proud for the performance of club. And for example, Celtic Rangers, it's possible you listened about, Celtic Rangers, two great clubs is in the Scottish football championship, Celtic Rangers founded by Irish, and Glasgow Rangers founded the local Protestant. It's quite a typical. Look at, for example, Spain. In the Spain championship, Spanish championship, under direction two giant clubs. Real Madrid, this is the imperial club of Castilla, and other one, Barcelona. It's a club of Catalonia. Moreover, there is a third rivals. It's Athletic Bilbao. It's a Basque local minorities. A Basque people, you know, Basque. Sometimes the Hungarians complain we are alone on the world. It's not true. Because a lot of relatives living not the best place, maybe Siberia. But we are relatives, Estonians, for example, Finnish, for example, and a lot of small minorities in Siberia, it's true. But Basque, no relatives, no information about the origin of language. The Basque language is alone, whole of the world, without relatives. And a very harsh identity exists, not by chance, until the end of 20th century had secret independent organization in Basque and Ireland similarly. It's Irish Republic Army. You listened about? It's made terrorist operation even at the beginning of 21st century. A peace treaty, I remember, 2006 or around, closed a long history of conflict and fight between English and Irish people. Okay, but and this is the same situation in Hungarian history, Hungarian football history. In Hungary, there is a two club who won the most championship, the first position. The first one is Ferencváros. It's one district of Budapest, and the other one, MTK. MTK has been a Hungarian athletic club. Ferencváros, founded by German. Ferencváros was one bilingual district of Budapest, lived large minority of Germans. And who founded the Hungarian athletic clubs? Jews. And very interesting, two football clubs dominate the Hungarian championship, which founded two ambitious local minorities, German and Jews. And these players formed the Hungarian national team. It's very interesting. Therefore, somehow, football or generally the sport is demonstrate the deeper history of the local stories. Okay, turn back to the Irish potato famine. It was a typical short-term interaction. Trigger effect was a weather, a wet and hot weather. And finally, look at the Second World War. A Second World War. If we are looking at the Second World War, I participated in my first conference in Mainz, it's a German city, and I met with Yehuda Naiman. Yehuda Naiman, he was a Hungarian, but before the Holocaust and before the Second World War, his family left Hungary, therefore it was able to survive. But Yehuda spoke a little bit Hungarian, but mainly he lived in Denmark. And interesting history, because a lot of natural scientists, climatologists, geologists and any others, after he became a pensioner, changed the direction of research and became a hobby historian. It's turned to the topic of history. And one climatologist turned toward the problem of environment, interaction between environment and society, much different manner like a typical historian. He analyzed for personal, familiar reason the history of Second World War. I don't know how deeply you know the story of Second World War. Anyway, the most critical operation was between Germany and Soviet Union. This was the most critical conflict in military aspect. According to number of army, according to losing number of soldiers in each parameter. And Yehuda Naiman analyzed the history of Barbarossa operation. This was the plan of invasion against Soviet Union. Started the military operation on June of 1941, June 26 maybe, and launched the great operation and was very successful. More 100 kilometers occupied by military, by troops of Wehrmacht, the German army. It's named a Blitzkrieg, you know. It's a very, very quick operation. It's a quick war. It's a fast war. I don't know which is the correct translation. More 100 kilometers occupied, and a lot of million Soviet soldiers. It's taught in the process of operation. And the plan of Barbarossa was and focused to operation European part of Soviet Union and according to plan, occupy and conquer the European part of Soviet Union and stop on the line of Ural Mountain and the Caucasus. This was the plan. And according to modern military estimation, had a chance for that. But why wasn't able to perform? A lot of reasons, but one of the crucial reasons, after the very successful summer operation, started Rasputitsa. You know which is the Rasputitsa? Rasputitsa became a quite popular term in the Russian-Ukrainian army war. Sorry. Why? Because in Russian history there were only 2 seasons for transport and traffic. Summertime, when dries whole of the landscape, and winter time, when snow cover open the way for snake and the transport and traffic. But nor springtime, neither in fall time, no chance. It's a name Rasputitsa. No rock-covered highways and very, very thin network of railway. Therefore, during spring and fall time, no chance for transport and traffic. It's named Rasputitsa. Even recently, during spring and fall time, on the time of rain, no chance for moving. Mobile devices, tanks and other armored vehicles of army. No chance. And over fall time and during the winter time, try to continue a Wehrmacht, the German army, the military operation. But approached the fourth coldest winter of St. Petersburg Meteorological Observatory. But you know, for example, which is the average temperature in Hungary of the winter time? Average. December, January, rising up, but it's a climate mean a 30 years long period. How many?
-5 degrees Celsius.
5?
-5
Minus or plus? Minus. No. Whole of the winter time plus 0.6 Celsius degree. Only one season, 1 month, it's minus 0.7 January. No any other. In Russia, on that time, the whole of the winter time, average temperature was minus 15. It's the warmer period, minus 5, and colder one, minus 40. It's a lot of data are about, because this was a modern military operation, modern war. Therefore, weather observation had each part of the army for serving weather forecast for the military operation and so on and so on. And if we looking how many people on the German army died, it's 140,000 died in the battle, 40,000 disappeared, no information about the form of the death, and 150,000 starved with cold, frozen. Therefore, if we are looking the list of losing soldier of German army, we can realize the same proportion. The consequence of it's named General Winter. This is a strike of General Winter, like on the battle. Why? Because did you visit in Germany? No. Weather in the Germany much calmer, much better, much warmer. Therefore, the normal clothes of soldier optimized to German climate. And the Russian climate is much, much colder, much continental. The summertime is warmer, winter time is colder. And this was partly the consequence of clothes. It's a normal standardized clothes of army. And why interesting for us? Stop the invasion, and something happened in December 7, 1941. Pearl Harbor. Why so important? Because on the time China was under ruling of Japan. Therefore, a Russian and the Soviet general afraid for double front invasion from the direction of China. And when Japan turned toward United States, realized that whole of Siberian army moved to European part of Soviet Union. And if you, for example, saw the movie of Enemy on the Gate about the battle of, I suggest to you, you have a free time for that. It's a battle of Stalingrad. A Siberian soldier won, and the turning point, whole of the Eastern Front, Eastern military campaign was a battle of Stalingrad, because this was the first great battle which the German army lost. This was a turning point. And if we realized which element, which component we can identify in the turning of military campaign against Soviet Union, climate was one of the crucial. And very interesting, each of the winter of Second World War was very cold. For example, in Hungary happened the longest siege of capital, whole of the Second World War history, 100 days long siege. And for example, the zoo of Budapest, only 2 animals survived. I told the story. One camel and one hippopotamus. It's very, very special situation, very, very, very crazy. Okay, we are over. This is the short term. Generally, we will analyze a longer term interaction, middle and the long term interaction. Look at the human evolution, because the basic question, the basic actors of environmental history are the human and the earth. Human and the earth. These are the most important actors. Interact with each other. Look at the earth. Some general information. Earth is the largest terrestrial planet. The first is Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. It's formed approximately 4.5 billion years ago. Highest density, highest surface, gravity, strongest magnetic fields, and fastest rotation compared with the other Earth-like planets. Very important, the chemical composition of Earth, because the largest one proportion is iron, but majority of iron on the core area are. The second one are oxygen. Why so important? Because we are living recently oxygen-based life, form of the life. Silicon, magnesium, and very important, very high, quite a high proportion of the sulfur. Why important? Because the first form of life appeared on the base of sulfur. Oxygen-based life only after. And sulfur-based animals, for them, oxygen was poisonous. Therefore, the second wave of life destroyed the first. It's very interesting, but it's a geological story, not so interesting for you. It's some peculiarity. Okay, we are living in the third atmosphere. The first form of atmosphere, like a sun. A sun, you know, which are the most important components of sun: helium and hydrogen. Hydrogen and helium. Okay, the first atmosphere is dominated like a sun, helium and hydrogen. The The second one dominated by vapor and nitrogen, and after appearance of photosynthesis, step by step increase the proportion of oxygen. But recently, two dominant gases contained in the atmosphere. 78% is nitrogen and 20.6 oxygen. But very important peculiarity of the atmosphere that the lower 30 kilometers contain 99% of gases of atmosphere. And we are, for example, climbing up and traveling upper part, you can feel on the ears how changed the tension. How changed the tension is we are going up. For example, mountain area, it's a very trained climber able to move, for example, the highest peak of the mountain. And my favorite picture, for example, majority of climber using oxygen. Because so low the density of oxygen, but my favorite picture about Mount Everest in Chomolungma, that three Italian climber, it's a hitchhiker, it's drinking oxygen, and behind them, three Sherpa smoking. Sherpas living in the Himalaya, that the vital capacity of the lungs so good that even able to smoking. Yeah, but for us, for example, I socialize in the plain area. I'm very sensible for decrease of the proportion of the oxygen. Okay. Next important item, biosphere. Biosphere is a global sum of all ecosystems, and this is the timeline of evolution. Only very short survey, because for us necessary to realize only the elementary information, because we will focus to the human history. The first milestone, appearance of photosynthesis. The next milestone, appearance of fishes. The next is land plants, 200 million appearance of mammals. And the mammals became a dominant in consequence of great disaster of disappearance of dinosaurs, which happened in the approximately 60 million years ago. And the human evolution approximately start 2.5 million years ago. Okay, look at the human evolution. Increase a little bit the survey. Detail of the survey, human evolution. If we are focused to the apes, the human evolution, primates, and the first bones of the primates back to the 85 million years ago, North America, Eurasia, and Africa, and the linkage between gibbons, orangutans, and the chimpanzee divided the first one with gibbons 80 million years ago, 80 to 12 million years ago, orangutans 12 million years ago, and between 8 to 4 million years ago, gorillas and the chimpanzee. But very important to realize DNA of chimpanzee and DNA of humans, the difference is only 1.6%. Therefore, very close to each other. And very interesting, for example, tested that which is the communication differences between the apes. And for long term, try to teach to speak for apes. It's not successful. And a little bit later in the 60s, changed the strategy. And learn quite quickly the orangutans, the gorillas are sign alphabet, deaf and dumb person using a sign alphabet. And a lot of theory about the behavior of apes is broken down because the gorillas was able to communicate not only communicated the sign alphabet, but increased the vocabulary. Made a new words, for example. Knew the concept of bird, and knew the concept of water, and met with one duck who swimming on the water, and they made the concept of the water bird, made a new concept, and was able, for example, to use a joke. It's very human-like behavior, and very interesting. She's name was Mary, his gorillas, and asked, "You are a person or you are animal?" And very talented answer of her was, "I am not a human, I am not an animal, I am a fine gorillas." It's identity, it's personal identity. Okay, but turn back to the story. About the human evolution, recently had two theories. The first one, East Side Story. East Side Story means a cradle of human evolution located eastern part of Africa. The other one, aquatic ape hypothesis. It's a little bit heretic hypothesis. It's a minority. Only the anthropologists agree with the aquatic ape hypothesis. Look at the main direction as East Side Story. Other one, I call your attention, this is the tree of human evolution. If we are looking a long term, a human evolution applied a rival strategy. Therefore, recently, only one species of human living on the world, Homo sapiens sapiens. But if looking back to the human evolution, more versions applied by evolution. Recently only one. Okay, look at the East Side Story. East Side Story based that majority of archaeological sites located to eastern part of Africa. Why interested this eastern part of Africa? Because this is the great rupture line, geological rupture line on the Horn of Africa. 10 million years ago, or a little bit more, this area, you know the wandering of continent theory, geological theory. It's a moving. It's a different part of the Africa moving, and in geological time, the Horn of Africa will move to the direction of Indian Ocean and became a large island, like Madagascar, for example. In consequence of geological processes, this area, there are a lot of volcanoes. For example, whole of Africa, only one geographical site has a Hungarian name. Teleki. Samuel Teleki was a hunter and the geographical, had performed geographical discoveries, a traveler, and here located a unique one Hungarian name, geographical name of volcano Teleki. Okay, anyway, this is a rupture line, geological rupture line. In this area, in geological reason, rose quite a large continental area. And if somebody became higher, it's a similar than moved northward. Therefore, the vegetation changed from tropical forest to summer. Changed the vegetation. And behavior and adaptation strategy changed basically. Why? Because apes, antecedents of human, lived on the trees, on tropical forests, changed the physical environment, and started take under pressure the local population. One part of apes moved back to the tropical forest, other one died, and a tiny minorities adopted. How? Started changed a form of moving bipedal walking. Why so important? Because in very high grass area, chance of survival much better if it's moved higher, rose up the position of ice, much higher. Moreover, it's open the hand for making and bringing tools. It's very important strategy of adaptation. Okay, this is the east side story. The solution strategy of the tiny minorities who were able to adapt to the new physical environment are bipedal walking. And very interesting, some minutes ago I spoke about that apes, gorillas, chimpanzee and orangutans wasn't able to learn speak because the organs, the vocal organs position, it's not good for the speech. But changing position of head and position of neck in consequence of bipedal walking opened the way for using vocal organs for speech. Therefore, a bipedal walking, it's a triggering effect, like happened on the case of Irish potato famine. It's open the hand for making and bringing, and open the vocal organs on the neck for speech. Okay, very interesting, the aquatic ape hypothesis. Basically, the basic idea came from very special relation to the water. Because if we are looking at the mammals, no mammals who like swimming on the water. The cat, the horse, the dogs able to swim, but majority, 99% don't like it. My cat, for example, exception. It's possible, no, I didn't speak about her. Okay, but we found our cats very, very young, it's a babies. Therefore, we use the artificial nutrition for them, and it's too harsh for them. Therefore, it's a shit very, 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 very quickly and very low. Therefore, necessary to swim day by day, 4 and 5 times with Camilla teas and because disinfected the body and like swimming. And like, for example, my daughter made out of picture that we are in the bathtub with the cats and lying on the water. That is exceptional. 99% don't like. Only one monkey is in Japan who voluntarily walk into the water. But no play, no enjoy, only sit into the basin, into the hot water, not warm water, because Japan is a geological fragile area and lot of lake with hot water. And some local monkeys race, not enjoy but voluntarily went into the water. But the human enjoy the water. And the original idea came from the special mental strategy, special mental relation to the water. And a lot of indirect arguments. For example, if we are looking at the body of humans, lose the hair from the body. Only one exceptional place left a hair on the head, which saving for the solar radiation. The second one, facilitation of bipedal walking. Probably you know if somebody had an accident or any problem with the legs, it's a recovery, there is a basin recovery. Because you know the rules of Archimedes, the water pushing out decrease the size of the body with the weight of the water which push up. Skin bonded fat deposit. Like in the sea mammals, for seal, for example, it's a save the leather organs and fat around the body. It's a very important, and the fatting capacity of human, very important peculiarity of humans which similar to the sea mammals. And very important, the breath control. My cats like the water, but never try to push down the head under the water, because not able to stop the breath. But the human, and the very important breath control, a diving reflex. You know the diving, babies until 3 months, long period, able to the diving reflex. Take under the water and stop the breath, and it's swimming. You know? And for example, for the young birth baby, for example, there is a diving training for them, for stabilize the diving reflex, and somehow founded a good relation to the water. But this is the baby's diving reflex. It's a quite a general, because inside of the body of the mother, of course, its relation is very familiar to be under water, in the water-like physical environment. Web between the fingers. 7% of humans, there are a longer web between the finger. Not for you, us, only 7. But recently in the modern time, it was an irregularity, therefore cosmetical operation, it's decreased the size, because it's not so fashionable. Downward watching nose, because if somebody would like to dive, increase the pressure inside of the nose, and very easy to moving down to the water. Slowing heart rate under the water. It's a normal reaction of the body. We are unfamiliar physical environment and save the energy, decrease the beat of heartbeat. Diving reflex and affection to the water. Exceptional. And the human sweat and tear are salty, even like a sea mammals. Why so good place for the human? Because if we are looking at the chain of consummation, human on the early phase of human evolution wasn't a predator, only on the middle, necessary to escape from the lions, tigers, and a lot of other predators. Which is the safe place? Shallow water area. Running to the shallow water, the tiger and the lion never continue of them. Therefore, according to this theory, the crucial place of the human evolution, the shallow water area, is a safe place for them. A little bit the same strategy applied in Africa recently, the prey animals, gazelles, for example. How? Moved very near to the highway. It's a highway. And the lions, much more afraid from the humans, therefore, for example, making a home or the camp near to the highway, it's a safe place for the gazelles and gnu and any other prey animals. It's an adaptation strategy. In the historical past, might be it was the same, the shallow water area. But no evidence, is no archaeological. Why? Because on the time of human evolution was the age of great ice age, Pleistocene ice age. In consequence of Pleistocene ice age, the water level of global ocean 100 meters lower. Therefore, recently, the potential archaeological sites 100 meters under the sea level. Therefore, no evidences. It's theoretical theory. Good. Look at the Earth. During the human history, geological history, 10% of age of Earth had ice age. Ice age we can define that on the polar area, the poles of the Earth, under ice. It's very surprising because recently the most important most important challenge, environmental challenge, is the global warming. It's a global warming. Obviously, for example, last year in the Hungarian meteorological history, instrumental observation was the coldest year, whole of the instrumental observation. Each month, back to 1 year, the warmest in the history of instrumental observation. But we are even in the ice age. Why? Because both of poles under ice. It's ice cover. It's contradictory information, but the critical situation may be when will melt all of them. Okay, but look back to the most important ice age in the Earth history. The first is identified 2.7 to 2.3 billion years ago, Hieronymus, and very interesting, a snowball Earth. Snowball Earth means whole of the Earth covered by ice. And Anguilla-Sarian, and the current ice age, not by name a current ice age, because nobody is sure that it's closed, the ice age, which was the background, environmental background of human evolution. Started approximately 6 million years ago, and not sure that it's closed finally. Okay, which are the most important causes of ice age? The atmospheric composition basically means greenhouse gases, quantity of methane and carbon dioxide, vapor and any others, change the Earth orbit around the Sun, motion of tectonic plates, variation of solar output, the orbital dynamics of Earth and Moon system, impact of large meteorites and volcanism. This is the basic list of reasons and causes which are able to change the climate. And look at the Pleistocene ice age. This is the recent time, 0, it's 2000, and back to 5.5 million years ago. And you can see this is the starting period, approximately between 3 and 2.5 million years ago, the starting trajectory of ice age. You can realize ice age didn't mean that every period it's cold. Warmer, colder, warmer, colder, warmer, colder. Weather, this is the nature of weather, changeable. And if we are looking the trend line, I'm not sure that it's close to the ice age, but the last 10,000 years became warmer. Okay, this is the age of great glacial period. Is divided to interglacial, warmer period, glacial, interglacial, glacial, and back until the recent time, it's a Flanders. It's map how covered are ice from the northern poles, the continental areas. Whole of the area, it's an ocean area it's a frozen cover, Greenland, and half of the Americas under ice, and northern part of Europe, similarly under ice walls. In consequence of huge quantity of ice, 1 meters lower was in the coldest period, the global ocean level. Vegetation area obviously compressed toward the equators, and if we are looking the history approaching to the recent time, last geological period was the Holocene. A Holocene started approximately 11,500 before present. It's named Anthropocene of Flanders, and archaeological epochs. In Paleolithic, Old Stone Age, Mesolithic, Neolithic, Copper Age, Bronze Age, and recently we are living in the Iron Age, but it's, we can redefine the artificial plastic age. Okay, it's not interesting to concepts are about the human evolution. Dominant view is one, African origin, and the other one is a multi-regional. Very interesting and crucial phase of human evolution was the Homo erectus. You know what means the erectus? Rising up. The people who are rising up. Very important to focus how long dominated the surface of Earth and human evolution. The career of Homo erectus started 1.8 million years ago, and only 100,000 years ago died out. Almost 2 million years ago, Homo erectus was the most successful human. And the greatest performance of them was the first human sub-races who left Africa. Because much lower water level left Africa into the direction of Arabian Peninsula, and it was a land bridge toward Iberian Peninsula. Homo erectus was the first who left Africa. And the second one, and the second crucial innovation of Homo erectus, domestication of fire. It's unbelievable, because before, the former human sub-races, for example, made tools, animals able to making tools, brought tools one place to other, animals similarly. And the first innovation, which no example in the animal world, is domestication of fire. Domestication of fire. Domestication of fire had three conditions: oxygen, fuel, and the heat. Basically, the light was the most important source of fire. Moreover, in consequence of domestication of fire, which might happen between 5 million years or 150,000 years ago, this is the two limits. This is the upper limit and this is the lower limit of domestication of fire. In the next occasion, I will show for you one movie about the history of domestication of fire, 20 minutes only, but the time expired, therefore today is no time for that. This is a movie about the story of domestication of fire and relation to the fire of early human communities, which are the most important form of using of fire. The first one is a hearth. This is the Ice Age, when the early Homo erectus moved northward. It's very important, a hearth, a heating place. And the hearth may be, for example, forming a community. If you, for example, you travel to the camp and sitting around the heat, it's able to make around the fire, making and forming a community. Singing around the fire, for example, dancing around the fire, able to form the community. Strengthen the connection between the clans and the local community. Second one, it's cooking. It's very important, cooking. Why so important? It's possible, I ask you, how long sleeping a cat, for example? 60 hours, like a lion, like a tiger. Why? Because the digestion of flesh meat, it's very hard job for the stomach. Very hard job. Not for laziness, it's very hard job. But cooking decreased the time of digestion. And very important, the human activity increased the time of human activity, because it's a cooking, it's optimized somehow, saving the most important vitamins and nutrition and so on and so on. It's optimizing and decrease the time of digestion. You tasted fresh meat? No, never. Because, for example, when we made sausages, necessary to tasting, and very harsh, the digestion of fresh meat. And there is some meat is a fresh meat using. Okay, hearth, it's, for example, cooking, heating, and increase the raw material for cooking, because there is a toxic material detoxicable by fire. And the second one, torch and weapon. Torch and weapon. During the night, able to make a light, and weapon against the animals. But majority of animals afraid from fire. But some animals don't fire, don't afraid. You can tell example, which animal? Butterfly, for example, fly. What was a butterfly?
I don't know, dogs aren't really.
Shakal. Dead eaters. Dead eaters. Shakal and which other dead eater? I don't remember the name. Shakal, for example, it's running to the savannah because the savannah fire for them. It's a for example a restaurant or a table of dinner, because it's a died animals. It's because the shakal not enough quick for hunting. Only the dead animal able to eat. Dead eaters never like the fire, because for them savannah fire and forest fire is occasion for eating. Okay, but majority of animals, the most important predators, afraid from fire. But very important consequence of technology, because the fire is the first technology which conquered and domesticated humans. Dependence, power and dependence. Look at, for example, you lost your mobile phone. It's dependence. Power and dependence. Power because you're able to communicate almost continuously with your friends and with your social networks. But dependence because you lost, you paralyzed in the level of communication. This is the same in the case of domestication of fire. Power, each technology, for example, this building, for example, it's a lighting system, everything. Dependence and power. And the first one was the fire. Necessary fuel demands. In recent is no problem. In the contemporaries wasn't a problem. But look at, for example, recently we are living energetical crisis. During the Ukrainian-Russian war, decreased the import of fossil fuels, and had a crisis that how we can able to mobilize and activate the energetical system. Therefore, important the fuel demand and pollution, smoke and ash, one of the most critical components of urban life. For example, we are breathing a lot of smoke inside of the lungs. If somebody go in, no chance for out. And for example, miner walking on the mines, on the caves, for example, the breathing capacity decreased very, very quickly, because it's breathed in a lot of small components, small dust and any other components, decrease the size of the lungs. Okay, in the next week we will start with the quest of fire, and switch on the camera. I ask you patience for 2 minutes, 1 minute. Sorry.